lots of photographers doing only white only day. We change.
Okay, like rotate. Do you prefer like shooting smaller or do you prefer
I don't think so. It's more fun if you're bored, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes the French AFP say, huge family, there's nobody, there's no friends around, you know. We go alone.
no one to talk to?
Once I did something about something with an African country. It was in somewhere West Africa. No, East Africa. No, West Africa. And there was only two days. Because before, when it was Chirac, it was two presidents before. Chirac always, the journalists were there 2 days before. So we had a lot of fun with it. The tourists visit places and so.
Sightseeing, yeah.
And now it's finished, now you sleep in the plane. And you come.
So it was more fun then.
Small groups that you are in the president.
So then you just
You arrive, you shoot, and then you go back to the plane. You take the food there, and then you arrive to the next destination. You get out of the hotel.
Go to Pinto and go and look around.
Oui, c'est ça. C'est celui qui sort
So we went to walk to the volcano. It was dangerous. So the embassy gave us a car with a driver and 4 cars. No bodyguards. So in South America, everyone knows we
So the preferred for you.
Yeah, it's just from us. We walked there because he asked, who wants to come to the volcano, you know? Who wants to hike? So nobody wanted. And I said, okay, yes, that's great. It was really great because the volcano was in action, you know? We were very close. It was very interesting. And the other one were there doing some other tourist trips. That was a great time.
Sounds like so much fun.
Full armored cars. Private car from the embassy.
Wow.
Because it was, the whole drugs things and so we were sort of to go to the we had to go to the place with the jungle, so they were guiding us to the
So true VIP. Yeah, usually when we travel, like there's not a lot of time to get in the plane, you arrive, do work, and get back to the But sometimes
Même toi, tu peux nous s'installer à chaque c'est-à-dire que là ça a été validé. En fait,
Now you should be video.
yeah. No, it's very small.
On va faire une Stéphane pour moi. Photo. Alfredo. Pascal. Merci. savoir l'heure à l'occasion.
Ça passe.
Tu es contente de ta caméra? Oui, il paraît que je suis
Oui, c'est ça. Et tout. Ouais. Bah, ça, c'est le même cas qui arrive. Bah, tout à l'heure, on a fait un essai commute. Et ça passe. Vous diffusez quel cadre c'est moi, parce que du coup, à l'Élysée, ils n'ont plus la caméra PR. Ouais. Ah, alors, c'est pas ici. Alors, attends, parce que pour l'instant, au palais, ils n'ont que la caméra PR. Est-ce que vous récupérez ça? Il y a un divergé quelque part. Ouais, elle est divergée quelque part, celle presque. Et là, ici sur l'écran, c'est
Moi, je n'ai pas réglé en tout cas.
Parce que là, c'est le retour cam 2, c'est la 1, c'est ça?
Ouais. SDI 1. Il y a SDI 1, SDI 1 et SDI 2.
On se met sur SDI 2. Non, on fait ce que tu veux.
Non, demande à Clément.
Là, j'en ai pas besoin. C'est pas fou.
Clément va demander aux équipes.
Je vais voir après. Ça manque ça.
Ok, bah vas-y, je vais demander. Si quelqu'un qui arrive, ça va. Ah, je pense pas. Mais oui.
Ça va être étrange.
Ils ont récupéré les billets. Tu peux l'envoyer un truc et le défaire.
Monsieur, faut s'asseoir.
Oui, je peux mettre à côté de toi. Tu passeras pas dans les détails pour moi.
Ça va et toi?
Il paraît que l'écran, le CD craint. Et là, si tu fais ça, et que tu as baptisé les cartes, c'est ça.
Il fallait trop de sarcastique ou pas?
C'était le super.
Ok, je suis il n'y a pas de bénéficiaire.
Chez l'art. Trashy. Speak about the state.
Et si tu la signes, quand tu as besoin de la signer, alors justement, ça va pas marcher. Effectivement, quand tu et ton blanc, moi j'aime bien. Tu mets sur l'auto. Je crois qu'il y a un bouton devant. Ah non. Ah non. Ça aussi, ça. Je crois que ça va commencer.
La dernière fois, une série d'accords.
Monsieur le Président. Cher Joe.
Mr. President, dear Joe,
Madame l'ambassadrice, Monsieur l'ambassadeur, Mesdames et Messieurs.
ambassadors,
Monsieur le Président,
ladies and gentlemen,
l'honneur
Mr. President, you are honoring us with a state visit to France after your presence and that of your wife, Dr. Joe Biden, after the 80th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy. And I believe your veterans, our veterans, and those of all the allies were honored by your presence and that of other leaders on the 6th of June, and by the warm welcome they enjoyed while they were there. But this says a lot about the strength of our alliance and what binds France and the United States of America. This is a unity of blood shed to address the great challenges of the day, but it is this bloodline that is the connection between our two flags, our two nations. So once again, thank you for your presence. Together with the President, we discuss the great issues that we are facing, the first of which being Ukraine. Today in Ukraine, men and women are fighting with remarkable courage, determined not to give in, faced with the Russian aggression, the unjustifiable aggression. Jointly, we responded to extend our support to this European nation, which is fighting for its survival and its freedom, and we will continue to this as intensely and as long as is necessary. And I would like to thank you, sir, for the commitment of the United States of America and the recent decisions you recently confirmed, whereby you came to our side and played a critical role in this conflict. This conflict is all about the security and stability of old Europe. Many thanks again, and I think we see eye to eye on this war raging in Ukraine. We took joint decisions authorizing Ukraine to fight back, strike its aggressor when defending its territory. We are of course, making great efforts to arm, train, equip the Ukrainian army, and we made remarkable decisions. We mentioned the details of the war, as I said, raging out there, but during the G7, we hope that all members of the G7 will agree to a 50 billion solidarity fund for Ukraine, and in the peace conference in Switzerland, you will be represented there. This will be a critical stage as well, and of course the NATO summit in Washington, D.C. As regards the Ukrainian issue, as I said, we do see eye to eye. Respect for international law, the freedom of peoples to determine their own future, to self-determination, and thank you for being at Europe's side. There's close cooperation between France and the United States. Concerns other crises as well. There should be no dual standards, and although there are many crises around the world, we're still applying the same principles with the same determination. In Gaza, we want to obtain the immediate liberation of hostages, and we can only welcome the liberation of 4 hostages by the Israeli army. We want to achieve an immediate ceasefire and open up the prospect of a political solution, which is the only one that can bring about a fair and lasting peace and meet the security concerns of both people. And that is why we are supporting the comprehensive proposal of the United States of America. After 9 months of conflict, the situation in Rafah and the human consequences are unacceptable. It is not acceptable that Israel should not open all checkpoints to humanitarian aid, as requested by the international community for months. operations, Israeli operations,
En
should stop
parallèle, nous
there,
allons
and
redoubler
the
d'efforts
United
commun
Nations Security Council
pour éviter une
has a role
explosion
to play.
régionale,
But of course,
notamment en
jointly,
Liban,
we
où
will
nous
double
partageons
down to
l'urgence
avoid
à
a
avancer
regional
sur des
escalation.
paramètres de
In
désescalade sur la
particular,
ligne bleue,
in
comme sur
Lebanon,
le volet
where we are working on
institutionnel, nous avons acté une
de-escalation
coordination
on
étroite
the blue
entre nos
line
deux pays
and on the
dans les
institutional
discussions
aspect, and
avec
both
Israël
countries
d'une part et avec
are
le Liban
working
et
with
ensemble des
both,
parties prenantes d'autre part.
and indeed all stakeholders
S'agissant de l'Iran,
to
nous faisons le même
ensure
constat
that all parties come back to their senses.
d'une stratégie
Regarding
d'escalade.
Iran,
Tous
we know
azimuts,
the same thing. There's
qu'il
an
s'agisse des attaques
all-out
sans précédent
escalation,
contre Israël,
unprecedented attacks
des
against Israel,
manœuvres de déstabilisation régionale, et bien
operations
sûr
of
du programme
regional
nucléaire iranien.
destabilization, and of course the Iranian
Nos deux pays
nuclear
sont
program.
déterminés à
Both the
exercer les
countries are
pressions
determined
nécessaires
to
pour enrayer
bring
cette
pressure to
tendance,
bear to
ce que nous avons
counter this
encore
trend.
démontré
And this was
il y a
demonstrated
quelques jours à
recently
peine
enough, a few days ago,
en adoptant ensemble une résolution à l'Agence
by
internationale de
jointly
l'énergie
adopting a
atomique.
resolution at the
C'est la
International
même coordination,
Atomic
la même
Energy
volonté qu'il n'y ait
Agency
pas de double
itself saying
standard qui
that
est au cœur aussi de
determination is
notre
there. We do not wish to apply
coordination
double
en Afrique,
standards, and that is
dans
why
les
we
crises au
coordinate
Soudan,
our efforts in
dans
Africa,
l'est de la République
crisis in
démocratique
Sudan,
du Congo
in the east of the
et dans l'ensemble des points de tension régionales.
Democratic
Au-delà des
Republic of
crises, nos deux
Congo.
pays, animés par le même sens de
Throughout the
leadership, ont
region
continué d'agir
and over and beyond
pour
this,
répondre aux
our
défis
two
de notre
countries
temps,
with a mean sense of
en
leadership
particulier ceux
will
qui
address
touchent
the
les pays
challenges of our
vulnérables.
time, especially those
C'est cette unité que nous voulons pour rendre justement
touching the most vulnerable
l'ordre
countries.
international
We do
plus
wish
juste,
to
c'est tout le
achieve
sens
a
du
fair
pacte de Paris pour
international
les
order.
peuples et la
That is
planète,
the
sur lequel
meaning
nous allons
of
travailler
the
ensemble,
Paris Pact
mais
for
aussi des
the people and
initiatives
the
portant
planet,
sur
but
une
also
fiscalité plus
initiatives
efficace,
for a more
notre action
efficient
pour accélérer
tax
la sortie du
system.
charbon,
We
les
are stepping
préparatifs
up
en vue de la
the exit
conférence des
from
Nations Unies
the
sur
coal,
l'océan,
from coal energy.
comme
There will
notre
be the
mobilisation
conference on the
sur
ocean,
la
and
santé
indeed
mondiale avec
we
un
are
sommet qui se
mobilizing
tiendra pour
efforts on
l'Alliance
global
du
health.
vaccin auquel
And
nous
indeed,
travaillons
we will be
ensemble, qui
both
se tiendra à
involved
Paris dans
in
quelques semaines.
organizing the
C'est la même volonté aussi
Gavi
qui est au cœur
conference
de
in
la trêve
Paris.
olympique qui a été
That is also what lies
agréée par une
behind this
résolution des Nations Unies il y a maintenant quelques
proposition
jours.
of an
Sur le plan
Olympic truce,
économique,
which
nous
was
avons
proposed by the
exprimé
UN
également
just
les
a few
mêmes
days ago.
inquiétudes à l'égard des
On the
pratiques
economic
potentiellement
front,
déloyales de
we
la
are
Chine ayant
both
pour
concerned
conséquence la
about
création de
China's unfair
surcapacités,
trade practices, which bring
sujet
about
d'une telle importance pour
overcapacity.
l'économie
This is
mondiale
of
que nous
such
devons agir de
importance for the
manière
global
coordonnée.
economy that we have to act
Lors de
in
ma
a
visite en
coordinated
décembre
fashion.
2022, j'avais eu
During
l'occasion
my visit
d'expliquer les
in December
conséquences de
22,
l'Inflation Reduction
I
Act
explained the
sur l'économie
consequences of the
européenne.
Inflation Reduction Act
Nous en
on
avons
the
parlé à
European
nouveau.
economy.
Cette
We
législation
discussed this
est utile.
again. That
Elle
piece of
permet
legislation is useful
contribuer
because
même
it makes it
d'accélérer la
possible. Indeed,
décarbonation
it
de
steps
l'économie
up
américaine
the
et donc la mise
decarbonization
en
of
œuvre
the
de l'accord
American
de Paris.
economy and therefore
Notre
the
volonté
implementation
est
of the Paris
véritablement que
agreements.
nous
But of
puissions aller
course,
vers une
we want to
resynchronisation
reset,
de
as
nos
it were,
économies entre
both our
les États-Unis
economies,
d'Amérique
that
et les
is
économies
the
européennes,
European economy and
en termes de
that of the
régulation, en
United
termes de
States
niveau
of
d'investissement,
America in terms
et
of
sur les grands
regulation,
domaines comme aussi
investment, and
ceux
on
de
such
clean
issues
tech, de
as
l'intelligence
clean tech,
artificielle,
artificial
mais également
intelligence,
des sujets
and indeed
agroalimentaires. Enfin, nous
agro-food
voulons
issues.
construire aussi sur le
But
plan
of course,
bilatéral une
we want
coopération
to work on a
renforcée.
bilateral
Les
level
étudiants
for better
américains, les chercheurs
cooperation.
américains, les entrepreneurs
American
américains
students, American
sont les
scientists,
bienvenus dans
American
notre pays. Nous
entrepreneurs
souhaitons
are more
qu'ils
than
soient encore plus
welcome in this
nombreux.
country. We wish there
Nous
would be
avons
more
aussi
of
des
them.
coopérations bâties
We also have
lors de la visite
cooperation
d'État de décembre
based
2022, en tout
since
cas
the
renforcée à
state
cet
visit of
égard.
December
Je pense au nucléaire
2022
civil et au spatial.
around
Nous souhaitons aller
the
plus loin.
civilian
Et
nuclear
d'ailleurs, depuis
industry and the
plusieurs
space
accords ont
industry.
été
We want to
signés
go further.
entre le
Indeed, a
CNES et
number
la
of
NASA
agreements
sur
were signed between
l'observation de la Terre, entre autres,
CNES and NASA
ou sur le programme
on
Artemis.
Earth observation, or indeed
Je suis
the
aussi
Artemis
fier de pouvoir
program,
dire
and
aujourd'hui
also
que le
proud to
premier
announce that
TGV
the
américain
first
construit par
American
Alstom
high-speed train built by
sera mis en
Alstom
service
will
aux
be
États-Unis
commissioned
d'ici
in
la
the
fin de
United
l'année,
States
ce qui est la marque
by
aussi
year's
d'une
end, and
coopération
that
accrue
is
entre
also
nos
a sign of
industries
increased
ferroviaires.
cooperation between our
Réussite qui marque notre ambition
railroad industries,
économique
and this is
et
a
de
sign
transition
of
énergétique
economic
en ayant
cooperation,
recours à
but also a
l'excellence
step towards
technologique
the energy
française.
transition,
Je
resorting
veux
to
aussi saluer
France's
ici l'importance des investissements
technological
américains en
excellence.
France,
I would also like
encore très
to
présent lors du sommet de
signal
Choose France
the
il
importance
y a
of
quelques
American
semaines.
investors in France. There
Et la
was
France
the
va
Choose
également
France
lancer
Summit in
une
France.
fondation inédite à hauteur de 100 millions d'euros
France France will start a new foundation worth 100 million euros to promote university exchanges and exchange programs of research between two countries. I would like to thank companies that joined this. In particular, CMA CGM was very much involved. This new initiative comes after the success of the Villa Albertine project, where several cities in your country received as many as 180 creators and intellectuals in a matter of 2 years in about 50 cities. speak longer, but I would like to say that regarding the wars
endolorissent le cours du monde,
around the world,
sur les grands sujets
inflicting
internationaux,
pain
comme sur la
around the
relation
world, on
bilatérale,
big international
nous avons
issues
à
and
cœur
on
avec
the
le président
bilateral front,
Biden
together with
d'avancer
President
sur une feuille de
Biden,
route
we
commune,
want to have a joint
qui est
roadmap.
la confiance dans le progrès,
We need to
la
trust
confiance
in
dans
the future, trust
l'investissement,
in
la
progress,
relance,
trust
l'innovation,
in
une
innovation,
volonté de créer des emplois aux
the
États-Unis comme en
determination
Europe
to create jobs
pour
not
nos
just in the
travailleurs,
US
une
but in
volonté
Europe as well.
d'être au rendez-vous de la décarbonation de
We
nos économies,
want to be there when
et de
the
bâtir la
economy
paix.
is properly
De le
decarbonized,
faire
but we
sans
want to
naïveté,
build
c'est-à-dire d'être aux
peace.
côtés de
We
ceux
mustn't
qui
be
résistent.
naive, we must be
De
on
le
the side
faire
of
sans
those who
naïveté,
resist.
c'est-à-dire de
We
chercher
must
des
not be
accords
naive.
économiques
In other words,
exigeants.
we need to
Et pour
find
cela, Monsieur le
demanding
Président, je vous
solutions.
remercie
But
d'être
I would like to thank you, Mr. President, to be
not
the president not just of the first, of the greatest world power, but you being clear and loyal, a partner who respects Europeans and who wants to build on these agreements from the Ukraine to the Middle East through what we're picking up today on the economic front. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for honoring Paris, Normandy, and France during these celebrations with your state visit. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, thank you. It's been a great honor to be here. Not only the Normandy events, but it was a moving experience for a student of French history to be the Champs-Élysées today. It was a moving experience for us, for the whole delegation. France was our first friend. It remains one of our best friends. This week we reaffirm that friendship in a deeply meaningful way. But before I begin my remarks, I want to echo President Macron's comments welcoming the safe rescue of 4 hostages that were returned to their families in Israel. We won't stop working until all the hostages come home and a ceasefire is reached. That is essential to happen. Together we marked the 80th anniversary of the Allied operation that saved Europe and the incredible heroes who carried it out. I found it 180 brave men, happened to be all men at the time, who came back to Normandy this week with such pride and sense of devotion. I don't think anyone who got to meet them, shake their hands or hear their stories will ever forget their stories or the look in their eyes and the pride they took with what they did. But you could also see them remembering the lost comrades at the same time. The fact is that I know I won't forget it. And I want to thank President Macron, Mr. Macron, for the people of France for making our heroes feel so welcome, because they did feel welcome. You could feel it. You could see it. And we'll never forget what they did. And this week we have showed the world once again the power of allies and what we can achieve when we stand together. That's what this relationship between France and the United States exemplifies. We see it in Ukraine, where our 2 countries are standing with the Ukrainian people as they fight off Putin's brutal aggression. And yesterday I announced $225 million in new security assistance to Ukraine, and it's the 6th package we've provided since we signed the national security legislation earlier this year. I wish we could have done it when we wanted to 6 months earlier, but we got it done. With $61 billion in additional aid to Ukraine. And I commend France and our European allies for their leadership as well. The EU has provided over $107 billion in assistance to Ukraine since the war began, because we know what happens if Putin succeeds in subjugating Ukraine. And we won't stop. Putin's not going to stop at Ukraine. It's not just Ukraine. It's about much more than Ukraine. All of Europe will be threatened. We're not going to let that happen. The United States is standing strong with Ukraine. We're standing with our allies, and we're standing with France. We will not, say it again, walk away. And around the world, France and the United States are working together to strengthen security and shared prosperity. In the Indo-Pacific, we stand together for freedom of navigation, transparent governments, as well as fair economic practices. In the Middle East, in North Africa, we work together on issues critical to peace and stability, like food security and counterterrorism. And the existential threat of climate change, which is just growing greater. We're working together to accelerate the global transition to net zero. It is the existential threat to humanity, among the only existential threat to humanity, including nuclear weapons, is if we do nothing on climate change. I could go on. Every day, the French people and the American people are connected in countless ways, through economic ties, collaboration in science and technology, educational exchanges. The reason we don't have more Americans coming, we're afraid they won't come home. Such a beautiful, I mean, this is such an incredible country, such a beautiful country. And, you know, the fact is that these cherished ties between our families and friends continues to grow. The bonds between our nation are strong, vast, and rooted in the most important element, shared values. That's true today as it's been from the very start. In a few weeks, the United States will celebrate the 4th of July, our Day of Independence. That feat would not have been possible, it's not hyperbole, would not have been possible were it not for France coming to our aid. We're a nation because of France in large part. You stepped up when we needed help, and you did it. That's what 4th of July is about. That feat would not have been possible, again, without your support, without French support. Today, I proudly stand with France to support freedom and democracy around the world. That's what this spectacular week is all about. Mr. President, there's much more we had the chance to talk about. We're going to continue to talk. You've become a good friend, and I really appreciate your cooperation and your insights. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you, President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can you give us an update on the Russian assets? Did you discuss that today?